right, thanks, Rick. And good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is a regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Montclair and is being broadcast live on Channel 34 and is streaming live on Montclair TV 34 YouTube channel. It is available on demand and can and will be rebroadcast. This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting was included in the revised annual notice of the meeting schedule as set forth in Resolution R-21-165 adopted by the Council at its conference meeting of August 11, 2021, advertised in the official newspaper, August 19, 2021, posted in the bulletin boards outside of Municipal Building and has remained continuously posted. In addition, a copy of the revised annual notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the Township Clerk. Matt, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Counselor Cummings,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Herlock,
Present.
Counselor Price Abrams,
Present.
Counselor Russo,
Present.
Counselor Schlager,
Here.
Counselor Yacovelis,
Present.
Mayor Spiller.
Present. Without objection, adopt the agenda with flexibility. First, the approval of the minutes. They have been presented to the Council. The minutes of June 1st, 2021 and June 22nd, 2021, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, corrections, modifications? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? All right, thank you very much. Next, moving forward, we do have a proclamation this evening, and certainly, you know, I know that I saw a number of my council colleagues as we attended Dr. David's funeral service, and certainly listened to his family members and others speak. Was very, I think just touching in terms of, you know, what we know, but also hearing others' perspectives and hearing the celebration and speaking of someone's accomplishments in life and the legacy they leave, certainly was a touching piece. And with that, we did hear a number of proclamations that were read for him, appropriately so. And certainly I know we commented, so many of us at our last meeting, but we felt important to have a proclamation officially here as well. Councilor Cummings, would you mind please do the honors of a proclamation?
Mayor, I appreciate that. Yes, I will. And I'll humbly, but also respectfully agree with all you said that, you know, Dr. Davis, I think the turnout was an example of his impact, not only in Montclair, throughout the state, as well as within his industry. And just, you know, as again, South End business person who really uplifted that community. It's a big loss. So I humbly but respectfully do read this proclamation in memoriam Dr. Alfred Davis Jr. Whereas the mayor and council of the Township of Montclair are saddened by the recent passing of Dr. Alfred Davis Jr., longtime Montclair resident, a chiropractor in the South End of Montclair, and community leader. And whereas Dr. Davis attended Seton Hall University and Bloomfield College before earning his chiropractic degree from Northeast College of Health Sciences in 1980. Shortly after graduation, Dr. Davis opened his practice on Orange Road in the South End of Montclair. In addition to his practice, he served on the medical staff at Montclair Community Hospital and Meadowlands Hospital Center. And whereas throughout the years, Dr. Davis served on various committees and boards, he became a member of the Montclair Board of Education and served on the Montclair Civil Rights Commission. Dr. Davis was also a member of the Montclair Chamber of Commerce, which provides leadership, organization, and resources to support the Montclair business community. And whereas, in addition, he served as chair of the State Chiropractic Board, becoming the first Black person to hold the position. Dr. Davis was a member of the American Chiropractic Association Council on Sport Injuries and was president of the American Black Chiropractic Association. He also was a recipient of the Chiropractic of the Year Award. And whereas Dr. Davis dedicated himself to helping the community, he grew and expanded his engagement in Montclair by co-founding the Montclair African American Heritage Foundation Parade and Festival. He also hosted the annual Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship Breakfast fundraiser and attended community gatherings that promoted health and wellness. And whereas Dr. Davis contributed to holistic services in the chiropractic industry by promoting the Afro-Academic Cultural Technology Scientific Olympics program in Montclair. This NAAC program is also known as the Olympics of the Mind and is designed to recruit, stimulate, improve, and encourage high academic and cultural achievement among African American high school students. Dr. Davis recently expanded his practice in the South End, continuing his mission to help as many people as possible become healthy and well through natural methods. Dr. Davis performed non-invasive procedures to treat patients who had chronic pain by eliminating the effects of nerve damage, toxicity, and stress. Dr. Davis' legacy of leadership and public service is an inspiration for many years to come. Now, therefore, the Mayor and Council of the Township of Montclair hereby recognize the remarkable contributions of Dr. Alfred Davis Jr. over the course of his career, express the thanks of a grateful community for his life, for the life and service of Dr. Davis, and extend its sympathy to his widow, Diana, and his son, Alfred Davis III, and his many family members and friends who will cherish his memory. I appreciate that, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to add one thing. People don't realize what Dr. Davis, besides all his great chiropractic work in town, the fact that he was the first African-American to head the chiropractic board in the Department of Law and Public Safety, State Attorney General's Office under Consumer Affairs, where I worked at the time. And that's where I met Priscilla Church, who's the vice president of our Board of Ed, and her husband, Jay Church, was the director of the Board of Chiropractic. So we all had a great close relationship with Dr. Davis, the Church family and my own. And I really want to express my personal sympathy. And you and I, Mayor, were there that day. It was a real wonderful service. And I think, and Councilor Cummings was there also. And thank you all for remembering him. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Russo, and certainly, echoing that for sure, and certainly what a loss. And certainly, I know both my colleagues would agree there. It was really a testament for person after person to say what a wonderful and expert chiropractor he was. I think that's a testament to his craft. He was very skilled and good. So he'll be missed for sure. Okay. Now at this time, in an effort to minimize COVID-19 exposure and to maintain social distancing practices, this meeting with the council and further meetings until the pandemic is over will only be available to the public remotely. To those who wish to participate now during public comment, they should dial into 408-418-9388. When asked to enter an access code, please enter 23401937479, then press pound. When asked to enter an attendee number, simply press pound. When asked to state your name, please do so and press pound. The administrator will then say when it's the caller's turn to speak, and the caller will then hear 2 beeps. At that time, the caller will have an opportunity to make his or her comment. Mr. Stafford, Mr. Fan, I turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. First up would be caller with the number starting 646-701. It is your turn to comment. 646-701. Please, for the record, state your name. Keep your comments to 3 minutes and mute your listening device.
Good evening, council members. My name is Mary Packer, and I am the Executive Director of the Montclair Public Library Foundation. I would first like to say that the Foundation applauds the council's support of a community block development grant application for $100,000 for the purpose of renovating the bathrooms in the main library. This kind of investment in facilities is an important initiative, and I hope that the council will follow up by voting in favor of robust municipal funding for the library in the 2022 budget. The minimum funding mandated by the state is simply insufficient to cover the costs of basic operations and staffing at 2 library locations. Montclair must dedicate additional funds above the requirement in order to provide the operating hours, level of services, and impactful programs that our diverse community requires and expects of our library. We know that there is broad public support for a well-funded library, and it is critical that the full council unequivocally stand behind this effort. The many emails, letters, and calls to the council and participation by the public in council meetings provide powerful evidence of the community's support for the library. The library is a hub of the Montclair community and a point of pride. We need to ensure that the transition to a new library director goes smoothly and that highly qualified candidates are eager to apply for the position of library director. For the Township Council to give the impression that the operation of the library, including its programming initiatives, may be subject to political oversight is harmful to this effort. The library needs to remain independent, as it has been since its establishment in 1893. Governance of the library needs to remain solely in the hands of the library trustees without the vagaries of politics entering into the equation. There is no need for the unprecedented library funding agreement, and the proposed draft of that agreement should be permanently taken off the table. Lastly, there has been a year-long vacancy on the Board of Library Trustees, and another position will expire on December 31st. If the 9-member body becomes 7, they will be hampered in their ability to effectively govern. I understand that the library trustees provided guidance and recommendations to the mayor some months ago. The mayor needs to take seriously his charge to appoint members to the board who will serve in the best interests of the library and the community, and he needs to fulfill this duty without further delay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next would be caller with the number starting 917392. 917392. It is your turn to comment. Please, for the record, state your name, keep your comments to 3 minutes, and mute your listening device.
Hi, my name is Eileen Birmingham. I'm calling, I know that there's a mask mandate up for debate tonight, and I'm calling in support of that. But I'm really calling tonight again about the library and to express my bafflement as to why over $32,000 was spent to audit an institution that is already routinely audited every year by an external certified auditor. From a prior meeting, it would appear that emails have been shared among the council that, quote, justify the audit, and I'm not sure if residents need to Oprah these emails because for me and many others, the explanation is not sufficient. It appears to come down to the idea that the library did not furlough people soon enough to the auditor's liking during a pandemic. Speaking of a pandemic, I'm not sure if any of you still have children in the school district, so you might not know that the high school is moving to virtual instruction due to a high number of cases reported. I know you do know that we have been told by engineers that our schools require millions of dollars in repairs to vintage, essentially ancient ventilation systems. And because of this, we are not able to install the most effective filtration systems for our children and their teachers. And in such cases, it is recommended that schools install portable HEPA filters. Now, I know that we are accustomed to believing that the municipal budget and the school budget are separate from each other, but they share the same tax levy, and perhaps we need to think more holistically, especially during a pandemic. And the $32,000 that was spent on this library audit could have provided over 150 high-quality Honeywell HEPA filters for high-priority rooms in our district, including cafeterias, nurses' offices, locker rooms. So I think, especially during a pandemic, we need to be careful about our spending, and perhaps this kind of spending on an audit should be announced publicly upfront and explained before the fact, rather than after the money has effectively been wasted. It's clear that the financial advisor for this town doesn't place a lot of value in spending on libraries. As Mr. Russo said at the last meeting, he is not an elected official, and it is not clear why he would get to design how the library operates and who it is beholden to. At this point, some members of the council are expecting the library to operate 2 branches with several $100,000 less than Milburn or Livingston libraries used to operate 1. Not to mention that the library is currently receiving more than $1 million less than it was 13 years ago in 2008 when its budget was $4.4 million. So this would appear to be an orchestrated, repeated attempt to starve the library of its funding, and I would suggest that it is not in line with the values of the residents of Montclair. Certainly, the failure to appoint a member to the Board of Trustees raises questions about how seriously one is taking the library. I, for one, want to stop hearing justifications for this audit because what is being shared, frankly, does not make sense, and hearing more about a plan to provide the library with strong funding without any kind of coercive agreement. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your service to Montclair.
Next would be caller with the number starting 973932. It is your turn to comment. 973932. Please, for the record, state your name, keep your comments to 3 minutes, and mute your listening device.
Good evening. My name is Jasmine. I'm an intern for the Tenants Organization of Montclair. I'm a graduate of Immaculate Conception High School and a sophomore at Spelman College. I'm honored to be a part of this journey. Tonight, I will read a letter from one of our members. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lynette Joy Goodman Baskiner. and I have been a resident of Montclair since 2011. My husband is retired, and I'm fast approaching retirement as well. We live at 65 Hawthorne Place in the Williamsburg Apartments. As a renter, I have been following the current rent control issue carefully and am concerned that my own steep rental increase may make our continued residence here untenable. To that end, I wish to thank the mayor and council members for enacting a rent freeze during the pandemic and extending the rent freeze up to the present. I also appreciate the mayor and councilor members' focus on the development of rent-controlled measures. I fully support the implementation of rent control so that those who wish to remain in Montclair will be able to do so without fear of rent increases that force them to move. I recently connected with the Tenants Organization of Montclair to discuss my concerns following notice of a very large rental increase. I have learned a lot in a short time, and I'm very grateful to TOOM and the mayor and council members for taking on the challenge of developing fair and equitable rent control measures. We moved to Montclair for many reasons and have enjoyed all that Montclair has to offer. As senior adults who are active, we moved to our current residence for the purpose of being close to downtown. As we age, we want to be able to continue to access the many activities available that are within walking distance from where we live. We benefit from being able to continue to be a part of this vibrant community and believe that we contribute to that vibrancy. We have established friendships with our neighbors who feel as though we do with regards to remaining here as we age. We are all hopeful that those who are involved with developmenting rent control measures will continue to take our concerns and needs into careful consideration. We like our life here. We don't want to uproot and start over, given the difficulties of doing so at our age and the circumstances of the pandemic. We want the ability to stay independent and to be able to afford Montclair. Reasonable rent increases, as outlined in the proposed rent control ordinance, are important to us. I hope the mayor and council members understand how important it is to feel secure in our homes and not live with the threat of being forced to relocate. I'm asking the mayor and council members to enact rent control measures as proposed so that those of us who are established renters in Montclair will have the option to remain here. I thank all of you for this consideration and for allowing me to voice my request. I would be pleased to speak with any of you personally should you wish to do so.
Thank you. Next would be caller with the number starting 973619. It is your turn to comment. 973619, please, for the record, state your name. Keep your comments to 3 minutes and mute your listening device.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, this is Ahava calling in. I'm the president of the Tenants Organization of Montclair. I'm happy to be on tonight. I just want to do a little background, update the public. Again, thanking the mayor and council for all the support with rent control and the rent freeze. So there are people telling the news media of a rent control ordinance, history of the rent control ordinance, who do not fully know the history and have never talked to us, the Tenants Organization of Montclair, yet saying that they've talked to everyone. This is not true. My family's history on this township goes back to the early 60s. Southerners and immigrants who upgraded to Montclair for all the good reasons that exist here. Sadly, we've seen families leave due to skyrocketing rent. This had been happening over many, many years, decades. And then here comes the World Health Crisis. We have tenants who are members who have been affected, AFFECTED, by this World Health Crisis and skyrocketing rents that have caused them to leave and have them fear losing their homes. Yet many have still made time because they could and decided to speak up and speak out on behalf of our community, sharing their personal stories of retaliation, unconscionable rent increases, and lack of response with regards to repairs. You can see these videos and clips as our interns have posted them to our Facebook page. Because I'm first a woman of color, a Black woman, I'm going to remind everyone that when Harriet Tubman was working to free the enslaved, some people didn't believe that that could actually happen. She remained hopeful and faithful on her journey, and the numbers that she helped far surpassed what people thought they could count. And to quote one of my favorite feminists whom I've researched extensively, back in my high school days, Gloria Steinem. She said, if the shoe doesn't fit, must we change the foot? Thank you, Mayor and Council, and all the supporters for rent control in Montclair. Gracias, gracias, merci beaucoup. Buenas noches.
Next would be caller with the number starting 973609. It is your turn to comment. 973609, please, for the record, state your name, keep your comments to 3 minutes, and mute your listening device.
I'm Monty Oakley. Hello and good evening, town councilors. I'm here today as a longtime Montclair resident, progressive organizer, and a candidate for Congress in New Jersey's 10th Congressional District to voice my support for two environmental resolutions that were introduced to and are currently being considered by the council. These two proposals state what is obvious to so many people in our town, state, and our country, that the fossil fuel era must end immediately. And also recognizing that truth at a governmental level would be a crucial step in combating climate change in New Jersey and protecting the health, well-being, and safety of all of its people. These resolutions call on the state of New Jersey to cease investing pension funds into the fossil fuel industry and to immediately halt permitting all new fossil fuel projects, including one that directly threatens the water supply of our town. It is immoral for our town, with its mixed history of political activism, environmental racism, progressivism, and discrimination, to sit out this issue. If we as a community believe that climate change is an existential threat, which it is, that requires drastic and immediate change, then we must say so. If we believe that the human rights of clean water and clean air apply to all people, we must say so. If we are committed to ending the fossil fuel industry's death grip on our country, then we must take immediate action. I urge the Montclair Town Council to approve these two resolutions to pressure the governor to end pension investment in fossil fuels and to end the permitting of new fossil fuel projects. Thank you so much, everybody.
Next would be caller with the number starting 973632. It is your turn to comment, 973632. Please, for the record, state your name, keep your comments to 3 minutes, and mute your listening device.
My name is Irina Goldstein. I am chair of the board of the Montclair Public Library Foundation. This month, Peter Coyle left the Montclair Library to become the director of the Sacramento, California 28 branch library system. This is both a fantastic opportunity for Peter, reflecting the high regard in which the library community views Peter, and a tremendous loss for Montclair. While Peter may have accepted the Sacramento position regardless, I can't help but wonder whether the treatment by the township's government and employees didn't hasten his departure. During his last years as director, the town withheld budgeted approved funds, caused the library to undergo an erroneous and non-transparent audit, and then attempted to force the library to enter into a library funding agreement premised upon the audit's flawed findings, which would compromise the independence of library programming and thus in part violate New Jersey law. What makes this all the more maddening is that during that same time period, the majority of the council appeared to have been kept in the dark about the decisions to withhold funding, require an audit, and enter into the funding agreement. Further, the lack of township support must be juxtaposed against the facts that the library and staff are supported and loved by Montclair residents and have received numerous grants and accolades from outside interests. One of the audit's criticisms of the library is that the library purportedly failed to apply for grants. The library consistently seeks grants, but it could not apply for the most important one, the grant under the New Jersey Library Construction Bond Act, because there is a matching funds requirement, and Montclair, unlike Maplewood, West Orange, and South Orange, did not offer to provide the matching funds. I hope that in 2022 I can say that this is all in the past and that going forward the library will receive the funding necessary to provide the services that Montclair residents deserve. I ask that the council permanently discard even the notion of a library funding agreement so that the search for a new director is not impeded, and to make clear to the new director that the new director has the full support of Montclair going forward. Thank you for listening.
Next would be caller with the number starting 609-751. 609-751. It is your turn to comment. Please, for the record, state your name, keep your comments to 3 minutes, and mute your listening device.
Hi, my name is Lonnie Summer Padilla, and I am a resident of Montclair. I am calling in because I know that that on the agenda tonight is a mask mandate up, I believe, up for a vote, and I am calling in to support that. There are a lot of concerns, especially among families right now, with the increase of numbers in schools, like the high school going virtual. I really think that our town needs to do everything it can to stop, slow the spread of this. I think this is something we are all going to have to live with. But I think if we can slow the spread, it would be really helpful to keep our schools open and also to alleviate pressure on our frontline workers who have been really bearing the brunt of all this. I also would like to echo Eileen Birmingham's comments regarding the library audit. It seems like that was very unnecessary, and I believe that there needs to be an investigation, more oversight into this. It really is a shame that that money was spent seemingly frivolously or unnecessarily, and really could be put forth to things like keeping our community safer during this pandemic. And I agree with her that this is a time when the town council really should be thinking more holistically about things, because as we are learning or have learned at this point, this pandemic is not about the individual. It's about all of us. We really are all in this together, and all of our decisions impact each of our lives as a whole. And so I really encourage the town council, the Department of Health, to do what it can right now to really slow this spread. And one thing I would really like to urge you to think about is how to increase testing accessibility as well for our residents. There are lines at many of the testing sites. People are having a hard time finding testing, and I would really urge you to do what you can to make that more accessible to our community. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Manager, is there anything that you might be able to add for the public about what's available, at Essex County's sites? I know the one by Kmart. Is that anything you were going to share later? Maybe you would mind sharing earlier, just for people who are looking for these kinds of things that we know are available.
I know that the testing is available at the county. I can tell you that I go twice a week myself. I've never once waited online as recently as 2 days ago. I can't tell you that there's not a line sometimes, of course, but I will tell you that they are fully staffed, that they are exceptionally efficient. I get an email every time that I go for a test within by 11 o'clock that night that my sample has been received, and within 26 hours each time that I've submitted a sample, I get an email back from the testing collection agency saying that my test thankfully has been negative. So I can't imagine it being any more efficient than it is. And while I don't know the days available, I don't believe it's 7 days a week. I believe it's 6 days a week. I will do my best during the pendency of the meeting to look it up online and have that information to say later.
Thank you very much.
We're also doing testing. I noticed the other day when I was at Town Hall, they were doing testing at Town Hall. So I think there's another date that they may be doing something. You may want to put that out there as well, Tim.
I believe that was booster shots, David. Booster shots, not testing.
Which is a good opportunity at that moment, Councilman, to your reference, or what it ended up being. We should remind everybody to get boosted as soon as you are eligible as well.
Next would be caller with the number starting 973-746. It is your turn to comment. 973-746. Please, for the record, state your name, keep your comments to 3 minutes, and mute your listening device. 973-746. Are you there? Oh, that caller hung up. Next would be caller with the number starting 862-220. It is your turn to comment. 862-220, please. For the record, state your name. Keep your comments to
Hi,
3 minutes.
my name is Joanne Cornelia. I'm a resident in Montclair in the 3rd Ward and a big library user, and I'm calling tonight in support of the library and funding for it. And I go frequently to the library, and recently I decided to just stand back a minute and take a broader view. And I realize it's really something to be proud of. When you compare our library to the libraries in towns near us and around us, you can immediately see the results of our common investment in the library. Resources in terms of books and book clubs, classes offered for all ages, including a wide-ranging adult school, services such as health screenings and hosting public events like the Open Book, Open Mind, yoga class, and even more. And there's always people there. The staff is available to and happy to help and happy to teach. So to continue the success of our library, the funding just needs to be there. That bare minimum mandated by the state does not suffice and hasn't sufficed for years. Not if we want to continue being a go-to place for information, which is sorely needed in this time. Until now, the council has appropriated a significant amount over the minimum. If we want to maintain the excellent reputation of our library, that funding really needs to continue. It's also important to me that the library is free of political interference. It has been independent for 119 years. The proposed funding agreement, in air quotes there, which hands the oversight over to the township, is really not needed and needs to be shelved and not revived. Let us let the professional librarians get on with their work. The bottom line really is we need you to stand behind the library, you, all of you, administration and counselors, to stand behind the library and support appropriate funding for it. Not just what the state says you have to do, but a level that shows your commitment to the furthering the education and ability to gather information for our residents. The library is something to be proud of, something to draw people to the community. The shadow of this controversy spreads gloom and doom over residents, certainly the library staff, and the future of the library. I wonder, what kind of person would take over as director, knowing how little respect the library has recently shown? So please, I ask you, please put this matter behind us. How about this? We'll agree to share information and trust one another to do their jobs. That used to be how it all worked. Let's try to recreate that. Thank you for listening.
Next would be caller with the number starting 973-270. It is your turn to comment. 973-270. Please, for the record, state your name, keep your comments to 3 minutes, and mute your listening device.
Hello, my name is Sam DeFalco, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the organization Food and Water Watch. A speaker earlier tonight spoke about this, but I'm speaking in support of the Montclair Council adopting 2 resolutions to help fight climate change in January. One of these resolutions is in support of divesting the state pension fund from the fossil fuel industry. And the second resolution is calling on Governor Murphy to stop 2 fossil fuel projects currently proposed in New Jersey, one in Essex County, a proposal for a new power plant in the Ironbound community of Newark, which would perpetuate environmental injustice and worsen air quality in the region. And the second is a proposal for new compressor stations in North Jersey, one of which is proposed to be built very close to the Monksville Reservoir, which is part of the reservoir system where Montclair sources its drinking water.
And more importantly, we're in a climate crisis and a public health crisis, which is made worse by harmful air pollution and the impact that has on our lungs and our bodies. And so we really are in a place where we need all levels of, leaders at all levels of government, like the Montclair Council, to take strong stances against fossil fuels and in support of clean energy, because this is so critical for our future. So I'll leave my comments there, but I do sincerely hope on behalf of Food and Water Watch and our several hundred members in Montclair that the council will adopt these resolutions in January. So thank you, and wishing you safe and happy holidays and New Year.
Next would be caller with the number starting 862-926. It is your turn to comment. 862-926, please. For the record, state your name. Keep your comments to 3 minutes and mute your listening device.
My name is Edward Robin. I'm a member of the Montclair Library Friends Steering Committee. A previous speaker, Joanne, is also a member of our group, and she reflected my views far more eloquently than I can myself. I call upon the council and the mayor to respect the library's governance. I call upon the mayor and the council to do away with this so-called joint funding agreement. I call upon the mayor and the council to fully support the proposed 2022 library budget so that the library can perform and serve our community in the way that we all expect it. Thank you very much.
Next would be caller with the number starting 973-330. It is your turn to comment. 973-330, please, for the record. State your name, keep your comments to 3 minutes, and mute your listening device.
Good evening. My name is Frank Rabacki, a longtime resident of Montclair. I'm calling tonight about the Community Development Block Grant that's on the agenda. And I wanted to see if someone could speak to clarifying the policy that guides you as far as your ranking and allocation of money, only because I've been supportive of your choices last year, and I'm generally supportive this year. I think that if you are trying to reduce the traditional 50% that goes to municipal uses to a lower amount so that you could fund some of these other organizations, I would be supportive of that, especially whether it's in COVID times or not. As these numbers overall are dropping, I think we need to shift our framework so that we're directing more money to these organizations. With that said, I do have a question about the Neighborhood Council Incorporated, one of the recipients. And my question is really simple, and I would ask somebody to look into it. In last year, we gave them $86,000. Well, the county gave them $86,000 of federal money for roof repairs, air conditioning, and painting. And now this year, they're getting an additional $54,000 for roof repairs. I don't know if they just got kind of casual about the description or what, but it doesn't make sense that we're spending $140,000 for a roof, some AC, and some air conditioning. And lastly, this whole library issue, I have to say, I think the library is fine. I think it's a good organization. I don't have a great ability to evaluate it too much. And I'm sure they're good at what they do. What I'm pretty sure they also are not good at is financial management. And I've been following the library for a while, more so than most of the people probably. And they are just ineffective financially. I mean, they can't get their own house in order. They got friends of friends of friends. They can't even merge that into one group. They, in 2018, they came up with a $16-17 million refurbishing idea for the library when money was tight. Bottom line is, I don't trust them. I think actually the Board of Trustees and the foundation could use some turnover and some people stepping away. But I don't know what the solution is, but it's not business as usual. So I would encourage you to find a new level to work on with them. Thank you.
Manager, I want to let Mr. Rabaki know that last year, the Neighborhood Child Care Center, they did not receive any funding for those roof repairs, but they did go ahead and do some work themselves. And that's why this year they came back with a secondary request, and it's less than what they were requesting last year to actually do the roofs. So they did not get any money last year of the CDBG funding.
And Mr. Stafford, if I may just add to amplify what Councilor Cummings just said, the sheet that was provided to us by the planner, Ms. Talley, who had prepared it, showed us what was received in 2021 and what the request was for 2022. So what we had before us indicated that 0 in that column and that the request was 54.4 as was noted. So that's what we had to work from. That I didn't actually do further research, but that is what we were provided as we made recommendations. Thanks.
Next would be caller with the number starting 917922. It is your turn to comment. 917922, please. For the record, state your name. Keep your comments to 3 minutes and mute your listening device.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Carol. I'm from Montclair, and I just wanted to very briefly state that I am not in favor of the mask mandate. I know that there are a lot of people that are in support of it. However, I think the whole idea of mandates, we've been doing too many of them, and we're just, skipping the legislature, just mandating that everybody has to do something because everybody's afraid. And, just having, being afraid is not a real reason to put, to make sure that everybody can't breathe. So I don't support it. I think, we're just doing more of what hasn't been working. Obviously things have gotten, there's the Omicron is spreading a lot more quickly. However, it's not as severe as the original virus. So, we're in flu season. There's a 24-hour flu going around. There's lots of cases of people getting sick, but it's not severe. And, the masks are not going to be the saving grace for this pandemic. And I'm just really, really against mandates. And I'm sure there's a number of people here in Montclair that feel the same way. They may not be calling in, but, we need to have our own individual abilities to do what we want with our bodies. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Manager, can I just respond to Carol for a second?
Councilman Russo, go ahead.
Yes. Carol, I know you've called a number of times. I hope to talk to you directly someday. The theme of people saying we shouldn't be mandated or shouldn't be told what to do, we need freedom, but does that apply across the board, like to abortion rights for a woman to have the control of her own body? No. The Supreme Court is stripping women of that right and of that authority, and that's like a mandate. When President Trump was in denying that this entire thing was even happening, that there was only 15 cases and they would go away the next week, that's when all the problems began. We shut down March 16th. I remember the day before St. Patrick's Day being at Tierney's for the last hamburger I could have, and then we all started putting masks on and being shut down. We went through an election, which we had to do by mail. I blame all of this on the deniers that we really have a problem. We thought we got over it in July. Now we're not over it. It's a mess. you say it's not that severe. It's actually more contagious. It could be more dangerous. And we've got half the states in the United States, for political reasons, not wanting to mandate anything, not even encouraging people to wear masks or take a shot or get a vaccine. And it's a partisan thing with media distorting and misinformation. It's a shame. The country should pull together like we did in the Second World War, like we did at 9/11. I've seen all these times of stress and problems. We pulled together when President Kennedy was shot. This is terrible. It's a divisiveness. I know you're just bringing your viewpoint, and that's fine, but I wanted to say for the public again, that when we vote to do something like this, it's because we see a need to protect the overall general public and our community's health. Nobody wants, I have a problem with wearing my mask sometimes. I've got 6 different masks. And you can breathe through the masks, okay? It's not that we're stopping people from breathing. So I just wanted to address that because people keep calling in with misinformation about what we're trying to do and making it a national issue that seems to have 2 Americas here. One America that's vaccinated and trying to keep everybody healthy, and the other America that's just letting this rip through people's lives in Florida, where I have a lot of friends and relatives. The governor is absurd. He puts a guy in charge that denies the entire thing exists, a doctor who's not even a doctor. Thank God we've got Governor Murphy here, who's an enlightened person and does not play games like that. But the governor of Florida, the governor of Texas, governors all over the South, even out west, they're not being good leaders. Let's hope we get over this in the next year, but it's a problem and we have to do something about it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman, and certainly we'll just use the opportunity to say to everyone, as I think you've heard in uniformity here from this body, we are looking to provide any and all opportunities for testing when that was available. Mr. Stafford noted some of that great partnership with the county, so we're thankful there. To get vaccinated, we know that the challenge is first in order to get it now available, and also the boosters. We're encouraging everyone to be boosted as well, and we're encouraging everyone to take as many steps as they can to add layers of protection. This is a very transmissible variant that we have right now. We want everyone to be safe. Certainly we want everyone to be able to enjoy each other's company for the holidays with family, friends, but we want everyone to try and do anything they can to stay safe here in our community, here in Montclair. And I know we are all certainly on this council united in that sentiment. So thank you. Mr. Stafford.
Thank you, sir. Next would be caller with the number starting 973771. It is your turn to comment. 973771, please, for the record, state your name, keep your comments to 3 minutes, and mute your listening device.
Will do. Good evening. My name is Attorney Estime, and I'm actually calling with the spirit of good leadership and allyship here tonight. I'm calling as a follow-up to the December 7th, 2021 meeting, wherein members who were victims of Ira's racist comments called in, and I'm speaking in support of everyone who had to listen to his racist comments on that day, as well as those people who had to find out later on what he actually said on the elevator. And I know this because he actually apologized later on, at least what I think was an apology in the press. Ira was working in his official capacity as an attorney. There was no mistake that this was not off-duty activities of any kind. And so I find it odd, or at least I haven't seen, so correct me if I'm wrong, a statement, an apology, a big denouncement from the town council about what he said on that day. Now, I've been long enough here and active enough here to know where another incident happened and it went up to the governor. There was a statement made, there was photo ops, there were things released, and I would like to see that similar response when someone is calling another group 3/5 of an individual and saying that he was in the Constitution. And it's just, whatever that was, I know some people said it wasn't racism, but I'm going to call it what it is. In my opinion, it was purely racist. And I want to find out what is happening on that front. I mean, I know that there may be attorney-client privilege here. However, I'd like to make sure that Montclair, especially town council, will serve as an example to the community, to our children, that this is not something that should go on, and if it goes on, this is how we feel about it. Also, I wanted to know if you can disclose to us what's been going on and what you can tell us, and be a little bit more transparent about what's happening with that investigation. Also, I'd like to know more about what's happening with hiring someone who actually knows and upholds the Constitution, because I feel as though there was a big misstep here. And that's it. And also, I wanted to thank you for your time tonight. I just wanted, whether it be a follow-up here or later on, I don't want to catch you off guard, and I thank you for your time.
Next would be caller with the number starting 973495. It's your turn to comment. 973495, please, for the record, state your name, mute your listening device, and keep your comments to 3 minutes. Nine seven three four nine five. Next will be caller with the number starting 973746. 973746. It is your turn to comment. Please, for the record, state your name, keep your comments to 3 minutes, and mute your listening device.
Might that be me?
Yes, ma'am, it's you.
Okay. Trina Paulus, 86 Elm Street, longtime Montclair person, and a real veteran of the Passaic Valley Sewage Commission issues during the 90s, when we were trying to fight what happened there, which was the USDA and them decided that our sewage sludge would be terrific for raising food, and we ship it all over. That's what we're still doing, which is a disaster. And the disaster that's about to happen here in several projects that I hope that we have the courage to vote against if we're going to ever meet the mandate for getting rid of fossil fuel infrastructures built and reaching the 50% reduction by 2030, is that we do not permit any more fossil fuel fracking investments. It's so clear. I would hope to all of us that we can't build any more of those things, because they go on, the building goes on a long time, and then it sets us up with having put all our money completely into fossil fuels again. With our subsidies still going to fossil fuels, we have to go to clean energy. Now, the energy that seems appropriate for Passaic Valley, which is right on the ocean there, at the edge of the Passaic River, into the right across from New York, is wave energy. And working at some of those geothermal and wave energies, and with solar and wind, we can do it. We can really do it in New Jersey. We have the possibilities of it. And so I'm all for the other people who have spoken here for the other fossil fuel things, but we have to not have to any more of those. And so the effort for the fracking industry to keep doing these things and sending their pipelines through New Jersey in order to ship this stuff overseas is just really wrong-headed if we want to do anything about the major existential calamity of our world. So thank you.
Next would be caller with the number starting 973495. It is your turn to comment. 973495. Please, for the record, state your name. Keep your comments to 3 minutes. That caller hung up. Mayor, that is the last person in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Stafford. Thank you, Mr. Fan. Thank you to all those who called in. Appreciate it. With that, we close public comment. Moving to our first, we got a new ordinance, which is Ordinance O-21-27, which is an ordinance authorizing the execution of a lease renewal agreement between the Township of Montclair and our Montclair Ambulance Unit for the property located at 95 Walnut Street. Is that so moved?
Second.
And certainly noted here for those listening in, this is part of our ongoing partnership with the great work that they do. It's a nominal piece that we have here as we renew this. I think $10 or something a year or whatever it is, but something that we obviously have to have some amount. But bottom line is, as we often support them with vehicles and other pieces, building in this case. It is because of the great work that they do, to get out there and to assist residents in the broader Montclair area when there's a moment of need. And certainly I know that unfortunately from time to time we all will experience that either for ourselves, family members, friends, or others. So really appreciate the great work that they do. And I know I speak on behalf of all of us that we're just happy to support them and have them as part of our community. Any questions, comments on the ordinance?
Mayor?
Councilman Russo, and then I see
I
Councilman
just want to
Yako.
say, to elaborate on what the mayor said, years ago, we gave the ambulance unit that facility, a beautiful old classic firehouse, in exchange for, so they could sell the building that they had on about, I guess it's around 50 or 60 or 80. It's really more like 80 Valley Road with a corner of Valley and Bell Street, where my dentist is now. A dentist bought that building and fixed it up. It's an office building. The money from that went into the ambulance, the volunteers, and they then got a nice facility on Walnut Street that we were not going to be using as a firehouse. And so it all was a win-win for everybody. It was done many, many years ago, and I think it's a great tribute to those volunteers who help everyone and to our town for being innovative and generous in a partnership with them. Because, we could have sold that facility maybe for $1 million, but we gave it to them and they sold what they had been using. So it was a positive win-win for everyone. Thanks, Mayor.
You bet. Councilman Yacovelis.
Thanks, Mayor. I was just going to say, I know Councilor Cummings is on the board. I don't know who else may be on the board. But I toured the facility a couple months ago after Ida, and I just noticed that they had experienced a lot of flooding because of what seemed like structural deficiencies, porous foundation, general issues with the foundation, some issues with the roof and whatnot. So I just wonder, as we're contemplating, capital improvements over the coming years, if that would even be within the realm of possibility, if that's something that we could potentially do a capital expenditure for or bond for, some improvements to the building, understanding that we are leasing it. So I just don't know how that would work, but just want to put that out there as something to think about. And I don't know if that's something the Public Safety Committee would have jurisdiction over or might look at, but I just want to put that out there.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
I'll get Peter answer.
Councilman Cummings and then Deputy Mayor Hurlock. I saw Councilman Cummings, then Deputy Mayor Hurlock, please.
I defer to the gentleman from the northeast of Montclair.
Mr. Deputy.
I yield the floor back to my right honorable friend, Mr. Cummings. Thank you, David. You're making the meeting bearable for me. Just real quick, Mr. Stafford, I know we're allowing for the execution of the lease. Logistically, how much time does this take? Because I know that the ambulance unit needs this to get financing for a couple of projects they're looking at. Mr. Stafford, I think you're muted. I couldn't hear you.
My apologies. 2 readings plus 20 days.
Thank you.
And to follow up to Peter's question, yeah, we are looking at some ways to see what we've asked the ambulance unit to get some proposals of what it would cost. And there is a lot of work to be done. I think could be some ways that we can help them out, particularly similarly what we're doing with the library with some of the bathrooms there through some CDBG funding, because it is in a CDBG funding area. But then their larger structural program, the larger structural issues that they exist there requires some engineering work as well as some really get some proposals to fix it. So that has been a discussion, and hopefully, as we move forward, we'll be able to find some ways to what I think would be a time over a period of time to get it going. I know a considerable amount of money was put into it a few years back by previous council. And so it's not like, we haven't done good work for them. And I think this getting this agreement done took a little while, but it's there. And so I'm sure Diane is like jumping for joy right now.
Councilor, I was going to say that it's not unprecedented for the township to assist the ambulance. We did put quite a few dollars in repair of the roof not too many years ago. So it's a history of compliance with them.
Okay, thank you. And I was asking just also, given I don't know how long interest rates are going to be as low as they are. So if it's something to consider for bonding in 2022, if they're prepared to ask and we're prepared to consider, it might be a good thing. Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock,
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams,
Yes.
Counselor Russo,
Yes.
Counselor Schlager,
Yes.
Counselor Yacobelis,
Yes.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes. Without objection, we'll move on consent agenda are resolutions 1 through 34. Do I hear objection? Seeing no objection, so moved.
Excuse me. Sorry, Mayor. Nope.
Councilwoman Price Abrams.
Yeah, sorry. I'd like to pull item 19, which is the resolution creating the Landlord-Tenant Advisory Committee, just for some discussion.
Okay. So without objection, 1 through 34, excluding 19. Seeing no other objections, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't hear a second.
I moved it
I
without.
had seconded.
Thank you.
And I had seconded.
Thank you very much. Counselor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock,
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams,
Yes.
Counselor Russo,
Yes.
Counselor Schlager,
Yes.
Counselor Yacobelis,
Yes.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes. Item 19 is a resolution R-21-247, which is creating the Landlord-Tenant Advisory Committee. Councilwoman Price Abrams.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor Cummings and I have begun a process to try and, spend some time looking at our various committees, and we'll move on from there. But with regard to this one, we are mindful that while we'd like it to be enacted as is, we wanted to defer the effective time until such time that we can effectively appoint a quorum. And we need to announce that we are seeking members of the public who would be interested to serve. We're looking to constitute a 9-member committee who would serve for a period of 3 years. And we're looking for some representation both from landlords and tenants who would help to advise other members of the community. So while we'd like to take action on this tonight, we would actually build in the date for it, that it would not become effective until such time that we actually appoint at a future date a quorum of members at least, and ask that those who have been engaged in these practices on behalf of offering basic advice and information to tenants and landlords in the town, that they may continue in sort of in a holdover capacity of the currently existing body, which is differently named than this one. Does anybody need clarification on that? Is that all right?
All right. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Just a question, Mayor.
Councilman Russo.
Yeah, I just want to make sure in this, of course, it indicates to be 4 tenants and 2 landlords. So there are some people who've been on this in its, earlier iteration. So we're going to be looking at those folks as possibly continuing, or we're going to talk about, I guess, filling it with people, because it won't mean anything if we don't have people working together on it. And I think the role has been more clearly defined or more limited. And then I wanted to just ask how this would fit into anything that occurs or might occur if the rent control issue is in any way resolved and we finally have rent control. We would have to have a board there too, wouldn't we? This is just a committee. Is this called a committee?
So Councilwoman Price Abrams, I believe he's to you and Councilman Cummings. But
So-
would you care to speak to that?
So, yes, I think just to put out for the public something I think we discussed briefly on the side. We have a body right now who may continue acting in the capacity that they have been, which is providing information, opportunity for, listening to concerns of landlords and tenants. They don't provide legal advice, but they are able to share the status of the law and, create kind of a forum in which people might be able to find their path forward without any formal processes. This body clarifies, I think, so they're behaving in some ways consistent with what this will be when enacted, but to the extent that in the future, we hope to have a quorum of people, which is going to be 5 members present at regularly scheduled meetings. We just want to allow the existing body to continue doing what they are doing. That will pick up in a somewhat more formalized mechanism. And I think it's for the collective council to decide whether what we should do with this entity when such time as that we have a fully formed rent control board. I think it's a fair question, but one that I'm not going to answer. I think it's something we'll all sort out what makes the most sense. It may be that it get folded in some capacity. So certainly those of you with a lot of experience in that area, I'm sure will contribute to that consideration. Councilor Cummings, is there anything to add?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, Bob, to answer your question, no one is trying to prevent the work from stopping, but we want to bring some clarity to it. We did work with some current members on the language and what we discussed here. And I think as we move forward, the key for what the counselor and I really discovered was that based on the fact that we want to make sure that when the body meets, that there is a quorum. And so therefore, right now, there's not. So we're actively now saying, if you're interested in being on this committee, please send in your application, volunteer forms. And then at some point, we as a body will meet to appoint those members. And that's essentially where we are. And I think as we move forward in this process, we'll have a similar apparatus as we look to do the same with the other committees and commissions that Lori and I are the only 2 counselors working on. So if someone else is willing to jump in with us, please feel free, because we can use the help.
Mayor.
Please, Mr. Stafford.
So Councilor Price Abrams and Councilor Cummings, is it your want that the resolution be amended to read at the end, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect when the governing body appoints no less than 5 members?
Thank you. I think that
Yes, Tim.
serves my purpose. Yep. Yes. Thank you, sir.
As modified. So moved. Resolution R-21-247.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any additional questions, concerns, comments? Although I believe we've had them. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It passes. Thank you. Moving on, we have Resolution R-21-263, which is a resolution authorizing the person-to-person transfer of an alcoholic beverage Plenary retail consumption license from Tromba Incorporated, Montclair Mezzanine LLC. I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, or comments? And Madam Clerk, would you please specify and note that it's met all the pieces?
Yes, Mayor, it has. The application's complete. The fees have been paid. There's no reason why the governing body cannot act on this resolution tonight.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Councilor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Yacovelis?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R-21-264, which is a resolution authorizing the award of a non-fair and open contract purchase 4G upgrades for refurbishment of single-space IPS parking meters for the Montclair Utility Parking in the amount of $66,420. And I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Certainly want to commend all my colleagues. Certainly, Councilman Schlager, a big thank you as well. I know helping to discuss and create some of that parking solutions that we addressed a while back. This is an extension of that with payments, and as it moves forward. I do want to note, and Mr. Scantlebury certainly can expand on. We often hear very quickly of some of the challenges that we face, but often, Mr. Scantlebury, there's not the opportunity to offer our gratitude. I want to say certainly to you, Mr. Stafford, obviously by extension, but all of the parking utility members and others who have been able to, as of today, I know that fluctuates from minute to minute, but we had our meter total function of non-function meters down to 50 total townwide, and that again is a even lower number than on average pre-pandemic with just vandalism. So that's going to be a daily number that we always generally have some number there. And again, somebody may have jammed some gum into one of them since I'm speaking here, so we might be up one more or two. But again, I want to note, Mr. Scantlebury, for you to pass along, please, a big thank you to the aggressive work. I know that we all got together here. We looked at the best iterations. We all kind of figured out what we might work here, and they've been able to execute it. And now we are down to that number, which is a real wonderful thing. So thank you, Mr. Scantlebury. I know you've been kind of lead on some of that work with a lot of harassment from all of us, and myself and my colleagues. So thank you.
I will share your sentiments with staff tomorrow morning.
All of us.
Thank you with that. So I've moved it and seconded. Any other questions, concerns, and comments on this one? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager?
Yes.
Counselor Yacovelis?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Now, certainly not on there, but of course, as we can introduce at any time, I'd like to introduce another resolution. As I'm commending everybody there, Mr. Scantlebury, I do think there's an opportunity to just give them a little more time over the break here, see if we can even further get that number to historic lows with the work that we're doing. We are in the middle of a parking holiday. I would propose, if it's amenable to my colleagues, that we extend that to Sunday, January 9th. Give the crews that have been working so hard just that little bit of room to see if we can get this down to numbers we've never seen in terms of how low. I would propose we move that again, echoing the language and the resolution would mimic what we've seen before, Mr. Stafford, but extending it on and through and including Sunday, January 9th. We'd go back to the regular after that, and of course it would include the usual 2-hour, but strict enforcement after such time. And I'd so move.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
In second, and certainly I know just introducing this for everybody on here, but I thought it was a good balance of we've gotten the work done. Kudos. Let's give a little more time just to even get it, crystal clear as best we can. Any questions, concerns, comments, or objections to that thought? All right, hearing none, Madam Clerk, please roll call.
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager?
Yes.
Counselor Yacovelis?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes, thank you. Next is Resolution R-21-26-5, which is a resolution authorizing the 2022 Community Development Block Grants, CDBG applications, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, or comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Abstain.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager?
Yes.
Counselor Yacovelis?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Excuse me, yes. Keeping the bills resolution last, we're going to go next to Resolution R-21-267, which is a resolution instituting a mask mandate for indoor public places in Montclair Township, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Certainly, we did hear from a caller or two, both directions on this today. I know, Councilman Yacovelis, appreciate you looking through some of these pieces. Our township attorney for coming back with some other pieces. Mr. Stafford, thank you for your guidance on this as well. I certainly, as I noted before, I think everybody on here, when we may, have variations of what we think is the effective route. But I certainly know I do speak on behalf of all my colleagues, and that our first and foremost goal is to keep everyone safe as best we can. We're going to debate and look at how we think we can get that done. In this instance, now I'll diverge from that fully. In this instance, I think we are looking in some ways for those who would support this for tools right at our disposal. I think everyone would agree there's no single thing that's going to get us out of this pandemic. It has been so frustrating for everyone. I don't care what level you come at this from, whether it be inability to see family members, whether it be disruptions to education, whether it be one variant after the next, whether it be, yes, heard some people noting maybe it's political, maybe it's just, all these things. But I think all of us as Montclair residents have just been affected by this greatly as a nation, as a state for sure. But we are all going to do what we can. And this, at least potentially, from my perspective, is a possibility to maybe do something in terms of what's allowed under the executive order currently from the governor. But again, we can all kind of look at what we think the best way to get something done is around safety and go from there. But with that, it's been moved and seconded. Any other questions, concerns, or comments on this resolution? Is there any other hands that I'm missing? Any hands? I don't see any.
Yes, Mayor. I don't know if you could see my
Councilman Yacobelis, thank you.
I know we're like 2-inch boxes.
Yeah, I know. I got you on my edge. So yeah, okay. Go ahead.
I want to echo the thanks for Ms. DeVito. I know we've thrown you into the deep end of the pool, but thank you for working with me and our colleagues over the last few days to write this. And also, today I spoke with the mayor of Maplewood, and they're meeting tonight to now consider the exact same thing, and actually asked for us to send them the language that we used. So you're doing work that's not just good for Montclair, but it's also serving as a model for other towns. I also spoke to the mayor of another major city in New Jersey that's considering doing this within the next 24 to 48 hours as well. So I think we're going to see this cascade and potentially be adopted at the state level. But this, really has to do with a couple key things. The Centers for Disease Control has designated Essex County and really all counties in the state of New Jersey as communities with a high level of transmission. And when you have a community that either has a substantial level, which is one click below, or a high level of community transmission, it is their recommendation that all indoor public places that masks be worn regardless of vaccination status. So that is really the key reason for doing this, is that is the CDC's current recommendation. The other piece is that the definition of what's considered fully vaccinated is evolving, considering the efficacy of vaccines and particularly boosters, making sure people are protected against the Omicron variant as well as the Delta variant. And given that boosters are not available yet, with the exception of Pfizer, to anyone under 18, and Pfizer is only currently available to 16 and 17-year-olds, we need to wait for booster availability so young people can get boosters, and so people who got vaccines later in this past year are able to also get their boosters in order for everyone to be truly protected against a highly surging variant right now. As of 4 o'clock today, we had 64 cases test positive in Montclair alone, and we've had 248 cases in the last 7 days. So this is spreading rapidly around town. Luckily, we know we have a high percentage of vaccinated people in Montclair, and obviously catching up as much as we can in terms of boosts for folks. The other thing I want to mention to give people hope, and the reason why we're doing this tonight, if it passes for 30 days, is because we want to be able to revisit this at our council meeting on January 18th, because there are other things that are happening very quickly. The FDA is likely going to be approving 2 pills in the next week, one by Merck and one by Pfizer, which treats the COVID virus. And so when you have that paired with the efficacy of boosters and a more robust testing regimen that the president announced today, all of these things coming together may create the conditions for us to relax this, hopefully at that 30-day point. Hopefully we don't have to extend it beyond that. So I think that's all just really important for the public to know. This is very temporary. It's to bridge the gap between now and that better place that I don't think we're too far from. And other municipalities, like I mentioned, including Newark, by the way, which did it yesterday, are taking this up. And I think we need to set the example in Montclair for how to take this virus very seriously. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I'll just note, as you noted, the Pfizer pill especially is showing some 90% efficacy in terms of its ability to help contain a severe illness. And just I'll use it as a moment to note, because I think we cannot emphasize enough. Heard with one of the callers earlier. These pieces, I was listening to Dr. Fauci earlier today. When we talk about people getting vaccinated and then getting boosted, maybe there'll be a new definition of what fully vaccinated is, of course, including the boosted. It matters in the sense of these things do make a difference in terms of outcomes. It doesn't mean you're not going to get this. We understand that, just getting vaccinated and boosted, or even mask wearing, it doesn't mean we've set up a situation where we can guarantee anyone does not get this virus. But it does mean we can really significantly impact outcomes to make sure we've got positive outcomes for people if you're vaccinated, and we try to lower transmission with mask wearing. So these things are all important, I think, collectively to look at as we look at these different pieces. And Councilman, I would only say, as we talk about, hopefully we're through these quickly. I'll just note the caution. We thought that, the first, strain, we thought that with Delta, and now we're seeing that with another strain. So I just, it's unfortunate, but I think one thing that we do all know here is that this is unpredictable, right? We cannot sit here and tell you today, come blank, we're good, or come blank, we're in big trouble. We just don't know. We've just got to keep following the science, following what we think collectively is best, certainly here for Montclair residents. And I know there's a commitment from everybody on here through maybe slightly different avenues and different ideas, but to try and do that. So it's ever changing. Anyone else with Councilwoman Price Abrams? And
Yes,
then
thanks.
Deputy Mayor. So Councilwoman Price Abrams and then Deputy Mayor Herlock, in that order.
Sure. I just wanted to acknowledge that since the time that this was published, and I've already gotten a bunch of favorable email and such, people who were appreciative of this measure. And, I hope it really is a message to people in our town, people who seek to come to our town, that it's a place that you can feel safe. And I think that's the overriding message I hope people will experience. Mask wearing, there's so many ways one can, wear a mask, meaning the ones you make, the ones you get, it's not overly onerous, and I hope that people will understand it. A mask is a barrier. It is not a perfect barrier, certainly in the newer variation, the Omicron one, but nonetheless, it is a barrier that has been seen to have real efficacy. So it's something that I think is within our ability to put forward, and I appreciate, Councilman Yacobellis and others who've, rallied to support this at this time. Thanks.
Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to commend Councilor Yacobellis for the work he's put in on this. I know we had some conversations back and forth, and given our schedules, trying to coordinate is not always the easiest thing, particularly when we tried to squeeze in a council picture last night as well. I just have two questions, and these are probably more for Ms. DeVito or Mr. Stafford. I know as soon as we pass it, if it passes, as to Councilor Yacobellis' point, that it's effective. Is there no 20-day notice, second reading, that's required for something like this? I just want to make sure procedurally, in case we get challenged, that it's tight.
Not for a resolution, no, sir.
And Mr. Stafford, what's the enforcement ability then on a resolution on something like that to enforce something like what we're talking about here, and how does that work? Those are the two questions I had.
It would be enforced either by our code enforcement officers, our registered environmental health specialists of our health department, or by the police department.
So individuals, if they witnessed an incident where face coverings are not being worn or not being properly worn, would have that avenue available?
Correct.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And again, thank you, Councilor Yacobellis, for your work on it.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman Yacobellis.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and I appreciate your feedback on this, as well as most of you. I think I spoke to all of you, and you've all helped shape what this ultimately became. And that's a really good way to approach governing, so thank you all. The thing I want to ask for Mr. Stafford, or maybe this is for all of us because it may be a council action, an idea would be if we could give businesses a template for a sign for their windows to say, there's a mask mandate in effect by order of the Township Council of Montclair, or by order of the Township Government of Montclair, or something like that. Is that something that the township can do administratively? Is that something that the council needs to decide to do? I think it's obviously simple enough to create the sign and just make a downloadable thing that businesses can download off our website, or we can share out to them. I just don't know procedurally if that's something that we can do.
Hearing that, I'd say let's leave Mr. Stafford to talk to our communications director to maybe do exactly that, Councilman. Create a page meaning a single sheet of paper, if you will, style page that says, basically that this is in effect. Of course, a business then could choose to print it out. I think anything too much more elaborate than that, you run into the past the 30-day potentially or whatever else. So let's design, like you said, something she could quickly throw up on the website as a printable, either PDF or Word doc, and then post. If someone wanted, they could just print it out easily enough on a computer and just stick it in a window. Maybe along those lines. I think Mr. Stafford has full authority to be able to do that if this were to pass.
Mr. Mayor, just one point of suggestion, and that's as we move forward that we bring the health department into this discussion, and maybe as we look in terms of when we may want to pull off of it, that they're included to kind of give us some guidance of how they feel maybe the appropriate time to relax this, or at least have them also monitor a little bit more closely with us. That's just a suggestion to consider.
Yeah, and they do great work. I know that I get an update from them almost weekly in terms of the numbers. But you're right, ensuring that they are part of these discussions is key. And as is noted, though, we are seeing a major uptick right now. But good point, absolutely. Any other questions, concerns, or comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Counselor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock,
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams,
Yes.
Counselor Russo,
Yes.
Counselor Schlager,
Yes, and my hat's off to Councilman Yacobelis for bringing this to us. Thank you.
Counselor Yacovelis,
Yes.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes. Next is Resolution R-21-266, which is the bills list resolution. Councilwoman Schlager.
Yes, thank you. Whereas invoices against the Township of Montclair in favor of the following persons for the amounts set opposite their respective names have been received, duly audited, and found correct. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Township, Montclair, and the County of Essex, that said invoices be and they are hereby ordered paid, and that checks be drawn by the Finance Department to the order of such persons for the amounts respectively and hereinafter stated on the schedule attached hereto and made a part hereof. This bill list is dated December 21st, 2021, the amount of $6,189,741.38, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, or comments? Let's go with Councilwoman Schlager and then Councilman Yacobelis.
I have two questions. It's hard to know what page they're on because the list was Xeroxed in the wrong direction. So maybe Mr. Stafford would know. I had two questions. There was one payment to Rave Mobile Safety for $12,000. I was wondering what that was.
That's a renewal of the township's SWIFT 911 certification fee. That's our reverse 911 program.
Oh, that's great. That's a great program. And then there was a legal bill paid to Stickle, Koenig, Sullivan, and Drill for $5,688.
They do work, I believe, for the planning board.
Oh, that's Arthur Ness's firm, maybe? Okay,
No, that's a different firm. Hold on one second.
okay.
I'm sorry, not the planning board, the zoning board of adjustment.
Oh, okay.
My apologies.
No problem. Okay, thank you very much.
Councilman Yacobelis.
Just two questions, Mrs. Stafford. Page 19, $28,000. It says ADA upgrade to fire headquarters. Is this? I'm vaguely remembering because I know we've done a couple of these with firehouses, and we're considering for the Bellevue Library, or we just did it for CDBG. What is this for? Is this for bathrooms at the fire headquarters on Pine Street, or for something else?
No, they were for it was for touchless entry doors awarded to the vendor by resolution R-20-177 at the fire department headquarters.
Thank you. And then page 22, custom bandag for $238.72. It just says Township of Montclair payments to and it cuts off.
Custom bandage is generally tire repair or replacement.
Good times. Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you. Seeing no other questions, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock,
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams,
Yes.
Counselor Russo,
Yes.
Counselor Schlager,
Yes.
Counselor Yacovelis,
Yes.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes. Next, we do have an executive session. This is a resolution authorizing executive session without the public being permitted to attend in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12B. Subject is personnel. I so move to go into executive session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? We will now go into executive session. Thank you very much.
You're alive, man.
Oh, great. Okay. Thank you, Rick. Thank you. So Rick again. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate that. We're now coming out of our executive session. Councilman Russo, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I move that we appoint Paul Burr as our interim township attorney for 90 days. Details to be discussed and settled with the town manager, and to begin the process of advertising for a permanent town manager. I so move.
Hold on 1 second.
Tony.
Hold
You
on.
just said.
We got it. He made a mistake. Town. Yeah, I assume like you'd be alerted to that one, Mr. Stafford. But yes, he meant permanent township attorney. We got it.
That was a slip of tongue.
All in given the hour. But yes, I will reiterate as chair, what I heard is to move forward, Mr. Burr, as the interim township attorney. Mr. Stafford, you'll negotiate those specific terms for a period of 90 days, and also at this time to begin the process begin the search process, including posting of the position for a permanent township attorney. That is what I believe I heard Mr. Councilman Russo say. Is that correct, Councilman Russo?
Yes, and did I leave out that it would start December 27th, right after Christmas?
Okay, thank you. And starting December 27th. All right.
And I would like to
put you at ease there, Mr. Stafford. I saw you, pulling on the collar. Are you all right there on that one?
Yes, that's much better.
It's been moved, and is there a second?
I'd like to second that, Mayor.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please?
Counselor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock,
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams,
Yes.
Counselor Russo,
Yes.
Counselor Schlager,
Yes.
Counselor Yacovelis,
Yes.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes, thank you. Next, I go around the horn. Mr. Stafford, anything to share? Anything to share?
Mayor, further.
Councilman Yacovelis?
Just in terms of, I wanted to talk about next steps for a permanent township attorney and creating a committee of the council to do that. So I would like to just initiate a discussion amongst us for who would serve on that committee. We would do the search for 90 days. We would do the posting, I think at least statewide in New Jersey, although I'd be interested in candidates from around the country for the job, frankly. So I just don't know formally what action we're supposed to take and how we determine who would be in that group, but I know we should discuss that here and now.
Sure. We, specifically you heard Councilman Russo move the motion so that it will be posted, and certainly you're hearing the direction to post it far and wide in that regard. Specific to the process, we've always done a subcommittee of 3, right, to look at this. Specific to the last position, I asked, who would be interested in serving on that subcommittee. We've tried to vary that around in a number of ways. So that's the process that we've engaged in the past. Again, I would say that there are a number of people I'm sure who would be interested on the council side in terms of looking things over. So as part of that process, it might be to put those put the interest out there, put the posting out there as they come in. We could have those postings shared with all our current committees at each time right now, right? So everybody gets a chance to see what's coming in. And then from that, maybe at a later date, once we all keep doing that, maybe no need to narrow that down. Tell me, Councilman Yacovelis, at that point. But then once we've got a bunch of resumes, we each get a chance to look those over, forming a subcommittee from the full council to maybe, a vet or preliminary interview or whatever at that time. But we've all seen the initial resumes coming in. Does that sound something you think would work for everybody?
I can't speak for everybody. That would work for me. I just think, we just need to know what, I think having that written out, just in terms of a process. So when we get a resume, it gets shared, whatever that process is, gets emailed to the council or it could just get shared to each committee at a time. I know we're losing our HR director, so I know we'll be backfilling that position. So I'm just not sure who will run that. So I think
does it work for everybody through Mr. Stafford and of course through the manager's office, we get our updates for our meetings, which is roughly every 2 weeks specifically. Could we just put them, does that work? All the resumes that have come in, all the interest letters that have come in that period before would be included in everyone's packet, as we reference it from our home. And then we're all, up to speed on what's been coming in. And then of course, as we get closer, I would probably argue in the last, month of the process, we want to then get down to, forming a subcommittee, teasing those out into a smaller number, or once we close the window on this. But I'd say leave it open as broad as possible. And then, of course, form the subcommittee to initially vet and bring back any recommendations. Does the packet work for everybody? Is my question.
Yes. And I'd like to say, because this is really one of our only 3 hires that we directly do, the council really hires the manager, the clerk, and the town attorney. And the town attorney, he or she reports to us. It's really important that we all have input, we all have knowledge of all these names. Last time we only had a few dozen or so for the assistant town attorney, and I chaired a committee, 2 colleagues, but we never really did a lot of discussing because we weren't filling these positions. But now we've made a step towards filling, and I think that's a good proposal, Mayor.
I believe also, Mr. Mayor, we had a committee when we hired the clerk, which is one of the 3 positions that the council has jurisdiction over. The only question I have, Mr. Mayor, is time-wise, how far out are we pushing this to form that committee and to have that review, knowing that time is of the essence and we've got a lot of legal issues going on, just to give everyone a sense of the timing.
Well, I think we just did this one for 90 days, right? This position. So I would argue we're in that balance of keeping the window open long enough to get as broad a pool as possible. That would say keep it as much of that 90 days as possible. On the other side of that, we probably want to use some of that 90 days to start actually, delving through and trimming that down, right? So it's the balance, right? And the earlier we start that, the easier it is to trim, right? So we're yin and the yang on that. I would propose maybe 2 months of it we leave open and 1 month we pare down. I mean, that's just an initial start point, but I think that would probably give us enough time if then we all get it, in this model, we all get a chance to see all the names coming in. We form that subcommittee as we exit the second month. And then everyone can look at them kind of neutrally right now, and everybody's equals and just looking, and then we pare it down to that subcommittee, and the subcommittee does the work of trying to trim that down, for that when we engage in this process all the time when we interview, which we have as the model since I've ever known it. We then interview candidates. We trim it down at that point through that subcommittee and bring people in to interview. Does that work for everybody? Two
Yeah,
and one?
that's good.
1 month tight.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, as Mr. Deputy Mayor Hurlock had pointed out, I think we want to make sure that the individual who's in the position also has a right to be considered.
Yes,
Does that need to be
absolutely. There's
clear?
no exclusions we're saying here on who can apply. Anyone
Right. Thank
can
you.
apply, and we're encouraging everyone to apply.
Just a
Councilman
question.
Cummings, I think I saw you trying to say something.
Yeah, just a question regarding process here. Similarly, we all have busy lives, and at time, as we get a bunch of, I'm assuming a lot of applications, and we find ourselves up against it, is there flexibility where we may have to extend Mr. Burr's by like 30 days so that we are, because I'm assuming that, we may get a lot, and then by the time we get to, that final cut down, it may just be like we may need another week or whatever. I just want to make sure that's something to consider. And as we go through this current variant, a lot of this will be remote work, schedules, and just speaking from what Lori and I just went through, once we get to that point, it is going to require a commitment of time to move at that pace.
Yeah.
So
I think there's we have that flexibility as this body to act as appropriate to extend anything that we need to in this model. So if we ended up doing 2 and 1, but then we needed 2 and 2, we got my view. I think we could absolutely. Well, I know we could. If this body chose to extend it, we absolutely could. And I don't think you'd hear much resistance there. I want to make sure we get the best candidates forward and pick the best person for the position.
And we'd want to make sure there's a transition period, obviously, as well, so that we bridge that time.
Excellent.
Exactly.
Good point. Yep. Good process for everybody.
Yes.
And Mr. Stafford, I think you heard the guidance there in the conversation, so thank you.
I have.
Okay. With that, Mr. Stafford, any comments from the township manager position?
Further to the discussion we had earlier, Mayor, The County of Essex's most recent information posting with respect to vaccination and testing locations indicate that there still are 3. The closest location to this township is Kmart, former Kmart building at 236 Prospect Street in West Orange. There are 2 other locations, the Sears building at the Livingston Mall, 112 Eisenhower Parkway, as well as Essex County College, which is on West Market Street in Newark. Vaccines are available for ages 12 and older Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Vaccines are available for ages 5 to 11 Monday through Friday from 4 to 7 and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Testing is available for all at each of those locations during those hours, which are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday. There are no out-of-pocket costs to receive vaccines or the testing. That's all I have, Mayor.
Mr. Deputy Manager?
No comment, Mayor.
Look at that. All right. Madam Attorney?
Nothing, thank you.
Right. I think that beats your last week when you just said no. So you've added more words. I appreciate that. Madam Clerk?
I have no report, Mayor, but I do wish everyone a healthy and happy holiday season.
Thank
Very
you.
much. Appreciate that to you as well. Okay, let's go with Councilman Cummings, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to thank we had a toy giveaway Sunday, and I want to really thank the members of the Montclair Sentinels, the Teamster Local 177 out of Hillside, the Ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha, and a new organization started by Amina Tuller, the Montclair Sister Elves. We spent 2.5 hours in the cold weather giving out some toys, and we had a few left over. We were able to give them away to some of the students at the neighborhood child care center as part of what Dewdrop Inn does every Christmas time at Wally Choice Community Center. So I do want to publicly thank them for that. I would be remiss if I just didn't reiterate the tragic loss of Dr. Davis and what he meant to the community. It really, it hurts, but it's also, just to be in presence and have someone like that in your life, and just to see, what he did and accomplished, particularly in the South End Business District, just lets you know that he was a man of conviction, and I just would be remiss if I did not acknowledge that he was somebody that I think we all should aspire to be, especially with his calm demeanor. And like our Angela said, everyone, I wish you all a happy holiday season as we return on the new year. Hopefully, we'll come back together again in this variant, and this Corona will just be somewhat tempered, and we can get back to life again. It's a very challenging time right now. Some of the places I go, this thing is skyrocketing. So I implore people, please wear your mask, be diligent, wash your hands, and even social distance. I know we got to get out to the malls and everything, but it is scary. And so I just want to emphasize that, but I hope that, again, over the next couple of weeks, it'll temper, people will do what they need to do, and we'll come back in 2022 and have a very good, strong year. So to everyone on the council, as well as staff members, happy holidays, and I wish you a very healthy and safe new year.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Price Abrams.
Well, I thank you, Mayor, and honestly, where Councilman Cummings left off is where I'll begin and just really rest my comments that we're marking an extraordinary year, and I think there certainly is some level of disappointment that we're not in a different place. Of course, a lot of disappointment about COVID. I appreciate that we took measure to keep our town safe. I will just take small issue, Councilman Cummings, that we're not sending people to the mall, but to our small businesses in town. If you can avoid the mall, shop here. But for those of you still shopping for gifts or birthdays or any other reason for holidays otherwise, I hope that we will continue to continue the movement of shop local and support our local businesses. And the measures we're taking to mask up, I think will hopefully keep all of us safe in the space of doing that. And really just want to wish everyone safe and healthy and happy, as has been shared by others. It was very nice to join my council colleagues in the building last night for the sake of our picture. And I do look forward to the opportunity for all of us to spend more time in the same place. Certainly as the weather changes, it'll take a little time before we get back to that, and hopefully COVID recedes again. So best wishes for those celebrating. Merry Christmas and happy Kwanzaa and anything else people might be celebrating at this point in time, and Happy New Year to everybody.
Councilwoman Schlager?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to talk a little bit about how as many of you know, that for many years, I've been trying my hardest. It's been very hard, frustrating, and difficult to be able to help the residents and neighbors over on Burnside Avenue with the flooding issues that they've been plagued with for so many years. Our engineering team at the town level, the residents on Burnside collectively got their own engineering firm as well to look at the issues there. It's very complicated and perplexing, but I have to commemorate. I don't know, the Mayor Spiller, along with resident Elizabeth Jackson, came together and wrote a letter to the Army Corps of Engineers. And I have to say, I was a little skeptical when I heard that, and I was like, what? Our little town? They're not coming here. But with the support and help of Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, the mayor and Ms. Jackson's letter worked. And lo and behold, the Army Corps of Engineers was here last week, along with state representatives from the EPC, the Environmental Protection EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and it was amazing. Councilman Yakabellis was able to join in on it as well, who's also been talking with the residents at Burnside, and we walked the whole area. The Army Corps looked at all the photos that the residents had. They talked extensively with them. They took photos, and we look forward to their to what they have to, suggestions that they have, any remedies that they have to help those residents for all these many years. So thank you, Mayor Spiller, for that effort. And it was really quite exciting to see everybody come together like that. There's been so many ribbon cuttings and of new stores that have come to town, and some stores that have moved to bigger locations. I wasn't able to get to many of them due to work commitments, but I'm just so pleased to see that all happening. And I hope, like Councilwoman Price Abrams said, that we could all shop locally. And there's lots of sales after Christmas time too. So if you don't have any gifts left to get, there's always December 26th and beyond. And I do go to the mall too when I have to. But I do try to shop local. But I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and certainly a Happy New Year. And hope my big hope is that we all stay safe, healthy as best we can, and wear our masks and get vaccinated and boosted. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And just to your point of the Army Corps of Engineers, I mean, it was great to see they're coming, and I think you did agree the show of force they came out with in terms of who they brought, and when we saw those cars one after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next pulling up, it was great to see. Hopefully, looking for some real solutions to the area. Certainly really appreciate DEP, others, everyone else for coming out, and EPA, and appreciated the work that they're going to add to that piece. And just knowing for all residents that they're going to do a comprehensive look throughout town too, just to see what opportunities there are to help in any area. But it was great to have them for an on-site visit. Again, thanks. Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be real short. I just want to wish everybody a happy and healthy holiday and a happy and healthy new year. We will get through this, Montclair. We always do. And want to thank you for the time, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Appreciate that. Next, go to Councilman Jacobellis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I echo the sentiments already expressed by so many of you. I was just, every time one of you talks, I think of something else that I didn't think of, and I just think of this year and its totality and everything we've been through. And just for everyone in the community, it's a lot, and it strains relationships, it strains our behavior towards one another in the community. So it's a lot. We've been through, COVID in many waves, Ida, schools being shut down, the flooding from Ida. So there's just a lot going on. So I think, what I would just continue to ask for as you have some time for yourselves and with your families is to get recentered and find, your spirit again and the spirit of kindness, to treat each other with kindness. And I know we owe you, the community, answers on some things, and we will follow up on the library issues and the environmental issues that were raised. We've been, I think, especially as a volunteer body, for the most part, a very busy group of individuals. There's been a lot going on. And we simply can't get to everything, but we will. And I think we have the intention of doing that. So I would ask for patience as we work through what frankly is a backlog of work, a backlog of writing law, backlog of writing resolutions, of implementing laws and policies. Think about cannabis and applications for those licenses. There's a lot of work to do. So please bear with us and be patient. And to all of you, another year. And I just want to say to each of you, thank you for the lessons, all of our interactions, whether tense, intense, friendly, whatever it is. There's always a lesson to be learned, whether it's learning something about myself or learning something about you or just learning something about how things work. And I appreciate the totality of all of those lessons in helping me grow, both as a council person and as a human. So thank you. And I really do wish all of you a safe and happy holiday. Enjoy it. You deserve some time.
Let's go next to Councilman Russo.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just to wish everyone happy Kwanzaa and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I haven't been teaching this year for the last couple of semesters at Montclair State, but I hope to be back there soon. My students used to give me a lot of suggestions, and one time one student said we ought to merge towns like Bloomfield, Glenridge, and Montclair into Bloomclair Ridge or something. They had a whole name. They said you got 100,000 people when you put those three towns together. One of the things I like to see is the towns working together. We're working closely with Glenridge with our fire services. We've got Bloomfield on our border, Verona to the west of us. We're the center of everything. Seems like Montclair touches everything. We touch so many towns. We work with so many towns. And then people see conflicts we have. Yeah, we have conflicts within town. We have conflicts among ourselves. But just tonight, you see, we came together to take immediate action to fill the vacancy of the town attorney. Unfortunately, he made statements that really were out of touch with Montclair, and we apologize for that profusely to Mr. Scott, Ms. Malloy, and others who were in his presence, and apologize to the Township of Montclair for our town. But we've got a fresh start here with Mr. Paul Burr, local resident, active for years. Paul Burr will be our interim township attorney, working with Gina DeVita, and that's a team of a man and woman who can really help that Department of Law. And we all voted to do this tonight after working on this for a while. We come together, we divide at times, we conflict, we compete, but I've done this for almost 22 years now, and I've never seen such a good relationship among council members who really put things aside once we get out of our mouths what we want to say. And I hope everybody understands we're working hard to resolve all these problems. The rent control issue, I hope negotiations can be successful with tenants and landlords. And we want to get the library issue straightened out. And we want to deal with the leaf blowers, which we recently had a little brouhaha over. All these things come to us. Remember one thing, the mayor and the council do not run the town. The manager and the staff run the town. We oversee it. We don't have the powers that many people think we have. That's one of the reasons we never really had a re-election of a mayor in a big contest. Mayor Jackson served 2 terms and even a year way back when he first started. But even when he ran for the first time for mayor under this current system, he was not elected. And then every mayor after that did not run or did not seek a second term or got defeated like myself. I hope everybody understands our system, and maybe if we need to make some changes in it, we should look at that too. But I want to thank everybody for this past year. It's coming up to 2022. Let's hope the national government can get together and do some good things like we try to do here in Montclair. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Certainly, I'll also start out, by thanking everyone for another year of service for sure. I think the record speaks for itself here for the public when they look at the body of work we've been able to accomplish. Whether that be, enacting a rent control ordinance in previous council, fighting for it with rent freezes here in this council, and ensuring that people are protected, whether it's looking at affordable housing diversification, whether it be making sure we're keeping people safe during a pandemic, whether it be supporting our small businesses with direct loans from, grants from the township, whether it be, ensuring that, we're providing vaccination opportunities as a township itself, getting out into our communities for maybe people who are less able to travel, whatever the issue is, we're doing all we can to make sure we're supporting residents. And I think that is what is at the core of good service, good government, and the work that I think anyone who's in this for public service is all about. It is not about, just being able to check a box. It's going to make an impact on people's lives. And I think that's why we're all here in the work that we do. So certainly want to thank everybody for the role in that work, and thank all of our residents and community partners who do that great work all the time, hand in glove with us as well. To that end, I will just note to my colleagues, I've heard from some of our support organizations in town, whether that's MESH, Tony's Kitchen, Salvation Army, they're working again right now. As you know, we have the overnight opportunities for those who may be homeless to get out of the cold. But during the daytime, there are some challenges given the pandemic and inability for people to get inside, where they may run into that during the day. So I know those entities are finalizing a plan. They're going to come to us. We were able to support last year. I'm sure my colleagues remember this. We were able to support this to the tune of $10,000 to $12,000. They think it'll be in the same range this year. We all hoped it wouldn't be the case, but it will be. I'm sure we will come together and be able to find a way. I'm sure my colleagues will support that. I certainly will. But it's a testament to community, and I bring it because during these times when we celebrate the holidays and it's that moment to look out for one another, we've got some great groups in town that continue to do that, and we try to partner with them as best we can as representatives of the township and doing that work. So, I just want to say to everybody, yes, hopefully you can spend some time relaxing and enjoying a safe moment with your family, and certainly wishing you health into the new year. It's important, certainly in this time of year. This pandemic has shown us nothing more important than that. Certainly, spend time with each other, have a little downtime, get off the Zoom, get off a meeting, and enjoy yourselves. Enjoy celebrating the holidays with each other. So, with that, I just want to say thank you to everybody, and wishing everybody a healthy and happy New Year as well. Thanks, everybody. See you in the new year. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Good night, everyone.
Bye bye, all.
Happy New Year. Good night.